Hi, and welcome to the award-winning Ed Brown Show. I'm your host, Kamaria Richmond, and we are continuing our conversation with the Buffalo Shoulders of Maryland Foundation. We are talking to Mr. Mason Monroe, the board chair, and Mr. Orlando Barnes, the business person.
Yes.
I want to just say money and Esquire.
That'll be fine.
So now if you missed the first segment, you have to catch up later.
Yeah.
But tell us about the Buffalo Soldiers.
Well, KT, in the first segment, we talked about the Buffalo Soldiers, the Buffalo Soldiers that was formed out in Fort Leavenworth, Kansas. But let me bring you to how we got here in Maryland.
Okay.
So in 1995, the founder of our chapter, as far as the motorcycle club is concerned, Brian Bulow, met the founder of the entire organization, Ken, we call him Dream Maker. Okay, and they met him at something that's called the Roundup, and our colors are black and gold, right? So these black and gold colors were sticking out, so it caught Brian's attention. To make a long story short, he contacted Ken, and Ken, as being the founder of the entire national organization, we call him Dream Maker. As he being the founder of the entire national organization, Brian was allowed to form a chapter here in Maryland, and that was in 1995. And one of the principles that it was founded on, of course, like I was saying in the beginning, if you want to be a Buffalo Soldier, you got to be committed to community service. So the chapter here in Maryland was also founded upon commitment to the community. So Brian and the founders of this chapter back in 1995 started what we're now calling the faith-based help with feeding needy families. They started the clothing drive that we do now. They also participated in a helping at Christmas time. Now that has changed somewhat, but those are the things that we started upon. So we're standing on our founders' shoulders. So that's how the chapter founded. And then once the membership grew, we started other things, and that's how the foundation was born out of that chapter that Brian started in 1995. But I do need to give credit to Brian because he is our founder, and he is the one that started it all.
Well, and do you know his history, why he felt the need to do this?
Well, first and foremost, Brian is a lover of motorcycles.
Okay.
Okay, so he loved to ride motorcycles. So when he was riding his motorcycle, he ran into Dream Maker. His name is Ken Dream Maker Thomas. And so when they met, Dream Maker loved motorcycles, Brian loved motorcycles, the colors were there, and then they started talking about what the Buffalo Soldiers stood for. And all of that sort of connected with Brian, and he was so interested that he wanted to start a chapter here in Maryland. And believe it or not, the Maryland chapter is the first chapter after Ken Thomas founded it out of Chicago.
Okay.
Yeah, we are the first chapter from the founders in Chicago.
About how many members do you have nationwide?
Woo.
I would
What'd you
say,
guess?
wow, that's hundreds, if not thousands, because there's several there's chapters in all the states, and each state, some states have multiple chapters. Here in Maryland, there's 5 chapters. So there are a lot of members, but as Money said, one, you have to be committed to service, but the second thing is you have to be of good character. So you cannot be a Buffalo Soldier if you're not of good character. The Buffalo Soldiers, from years ago when they started in 1866, were African Americans who had just come out of Civil War. The military had just authorized the formation of segregated military units, and under very harsh conditions, poor equipment, they helped protect the West as the nation expanded into the West. These gentlemen were of good character, were about service to the community, were entrusted to protect settlements as they were being developed to protect postal carriers and builders of the railway. So that was about service, and part of protecting the towns, they were kind of an informal police posse, if you want to call it that, because there wasn't law enforcement, but people were in distress. The Buffalo Soldiers were actually dispatched to help protect the community. So when you marry military service with law enforcement and community service, that's what the Buffalo Soldiers Club is about. It's basically combined of a lot of military veterans and law enforcement personnel, but I would say by and large, a large number of military personnel, military veterans who've served the nation.
And to answer your question, give you just a rough estimate, we have nationwide well over 3,000 members.
Wow.
So there are, because as Orlando said, not only do we have chapters in each state, but we have multiple chapters in each state. And some of those chapters are from 10, 15 members up to 100 plus members. So there are different sizes throughout the United States.
And you both mentioned a couple times about being a person of good character or good standing. When people say, okay, I want to be a member, how do you actually how do you come up with what are the criteria? Like, would you have to be of good character? What do you mean? Like, what do the individuals have to do or provide?
One of the things, there's a variety of public databases that have information about people's criminal history and general service. So one, you do have to be of good character. You fill out an application, say who you are, where you live, what do you do for a living. That gets reviewed. There's an interview process that people go through. They are interviewed, and there's a period where they get an opportunity to take a look at what we do, and we get to see if it's a good fit. Because as Money mentioned, a lot of it is about service. So yeah, Sunday morning at 6:30, we expect you to be there helping to serve the public. When we go out to give the coat drives, we expect you to be there to help distribute that that stuff. When we're delivering turkeys, we can go out and we go throughout the region delivering turkeys. So a lot of it is service. Is as much as I enjoy motorcycle riding and going out to help others, it's about service first. So, we tell folks, if you're not committed to service to the community, we're not the organization for you. If you're not committed to representing, the community favorably, we are not the organization for you. We are not into cutting up and acting, causing problems, and we hope to be a model, for the community. So we get a lot of attention as we go out because our folks are very sharp, because a lot of them are military trained, and they are about representation and being of good character, and people want to be a part of it. But everyone can't be a Buffalo Soldier, and I would say the biggest reason is lack of commitment to service, because that is a big thing that we do.
And just to add on to what Orlando is saying, when we say of good character, you can't be involved in any criminal activities, none whatsoever. You know what I'm saying? So as he said, there are databases that are checked. Now, once you pass that phase, there's an interview process, but it takes 12 months before you actually can become a full-patch Buffalo Soldier. So we put you through to make sure that you want to do this. When we said service, we expect, if you're trying to become a member of the Buffalo Soldiers, we expect for you to be there. Whatever service event that we are doing, you have to be there. And so you have to prove that you want to serve. So that good character, and you have to demonstrate that. Just because you don't have a criminal background, if you demonstrate poor character or poor judgment while you're going through what we call a probationary period, then that can cause you not to make it as a Buffalo Soldier.
And that's, you are really about service.
Yes.
And that's a lot for people to live up to, because people want to join the organizations and they're not always committed. But a 12-month probation period,
Yes. We're blessed.
That is serious.
We're blessed in this region because we have a lot of great people who live in this area. A lot of great people live in Prince George's County, you know, who do want to be a part of the organization. And beyond just the service, they have to know the history of the Buffalo Soldiers. So we have a fun part coming up later on this month where we have some new members, and they're going to be tested on the history of the Buffalo Soldiers. So we do expect them to know about significant members who served as Buffalo Soldiers, and you know, a lot of the history, because everywhere we go, people want to know, who are you? You know, what do you do? And you know, and one of the things that has been mentioned is we're a little bit different, but a lot of it is because, and I have great respect for our military members, and we have some great military members who are part of the organization who do represent very well. So, and people want to be a part of that. But what they do see is when we're in the community, not just our community, but when we go across the region supporting other communities, and we go in some of the less fortunate communities to help uplift them, to help support the charitable deeds that they're doing, people want to be a part of that. But we tell them it's not just about us, it's not just about motorcycles, it's about the history of our nation, the history of the Buffalo Soldiers who were there before us.
And all of these men that we're talking about that are part of the Buffalo Soldiers, they are professional men.
Okay.
They have some type of professional job, so they're professional. But I want to also mention, I think you were part of that. I didn't go to this one. A couple of years ago, went down to New Orleans.
Lafayette? When we were in Lafayette?
And we did a community event down there for New Orleans. And where we just went out into the community and we help restore homes and just do different things in the community. You know, so when Orlando said we don't only just participate in our community, we will go help others in their community when they, if needed.
Because every chapter has a signature event that they do in their community for service. So just as people in their community are supporting them, we want to go out to help them support the community. So, you know, the more hands you have to help with anything, the easier it is. But yeah, it's work. I mean, there are times where, you know, we got to get up at, you know, probably 0400 to get, you know, great distance to be on site to help. And you work, and you got to come back, and like you say, then we got to go to work on Monday.
Yeah,
so.
we gotta work on Monday.
Well, I mean, that's very rewarding work as well. But you have a couple of programs and initiatives and fundraisers, and so I want to make sure that we get all of that information out to folks so that they can help.
Okay. Well, as we mentioned a couple of times, we have the annual, I guess we call it Family Day now.
Okay.
And that is going to be coming this, in 2020, it's May 23rd?
Memorial Day weekend.
Memorial Day weekend.
That's Saturday,
so it's
May 23rd.
We actually have the Jazz Festival. And it's, like I said, it's a big family day. You can bring your kids, you can bring your food, you can just hang out with us for the entire day. And then that Sunday, which would be the 24th of May of 2020, we have the big ride, which we call Buffalo Thunder. And we ride from FedEx Field, where we stage the motorcycles, and we ride down to the Civil War Memorial on that day. And then that's where we give the scholarships again, and that's where we give the donation to the African American Civil War Museum to make sure that we help those. But as far as personal donations or private donation, that's every day, any day, every month. You can go to our website, and we ask you to please become involved so we can help students stay in school, because the money that you give through there actually goes to scholarships. You know, now we do have an opportunity for you to say where you want your money to go. If you wanted to go to scholarships, then you can donate it. That you donating towards scholarship. If you want your money to go towards our turkey drive, then you can say you want your money to go towards our turkey drive. So you can direct it. But our biggest fund is for the children and to help students get into college and to stay into college. And again, my goal, one of the strategic goals that I have, we are now giving away $8,000 a year to students. I want to increase that. Now you're going to get this. I want to increase that with over the next 15 months. I want to increase that to $20,000. So you can see that we need help. in
Right.
order to reaching that goal. But if we, and the reason that it's a very stretch goal is because, as we've been saying, once a student gets into college, you know, we've been just giving them money to get into college. But once they get into college, now what we want to do is to help them stay in college. And I think Orlando mentioned before, which I just want to reiterate, you know, 4.0 student can get scholarships. And we give scholarship to 4.0 students. As a matter of fact, we gave a scholarship to a student with a 4.3 average. And I was thinking, well, when I was in school, it was just 4.0. How you get 4.3? Come on now. And this student went to Harvard. And he stays in touch with us, you know. So we do give scholarship to what I would consider the top tier. But you think about when you're a top tier student like that, you can get a scholarship.
Right.
But how about the student that has a 2.5 grade point average?
Right.
The good students, like they said, they may have had something to happen and this is where they are right now. But this doesn't mean this is where they got to stay. So we try to help those students and say, okay, we're going to help you too. All you have to do is get in school, stay in school, and do well. And if you keep a 2.0 or above average, we're going to help you.
And that's interesting. CNN did something a couple weeks ago about, it's Angela Rye, called Young, Gifted, and Broke. And there were students there, and everyone held up their sign. I mean, 250,000, 150,000, 10,000. It's like, how do you begin to bridge that gap? And that's what you do. You're able to bridge the gap through service, but also you guys have to have money.
Yeah, and all, like I said, all the money we raise goes back to the community. The money that's raised for the scholarships, no money stays with us. Everything goes back to the community. But we are, you know, I'm very proud of what we do with distributing turkeys and helping the less fortunate, but we do have a great sense of pride in trying to help the next generation. So and the biggest thing is education. Education is a great equalizer.
Right.
So whatever we can do to help. But as he mentioned, the student at Harvard, not just that student, but a lot of them keep in touch with us and say, hey, this is how we're doing. And they feel connected to us. And the interesting thing for a lot of them in their letters is, let me know how I can help you, you know, and I want to do it. So
That's the goal. That's the point. And about the turkey drive, when does that happen?
Well, right now, we're definitely accepting donations to help as many turkeys as we can, you know, give out. We buy the turkeys and we begin to do the distribution. I think we have a date set. I think it's probably mid-November.
It's the week of Thanksgiving.
Okay.
So we usually start distributing those turkeys that Tuesday, I believe,
Yes.
before Thanksgiving, and we will distribute those turkeys. Last year we were fortunate enough to be able to distribute about 100 turkeys. This year we want to distribute more. So each year we want to do better than we did the last year, and we can't do that without the community support and businesses. Like we do have some businesses that are sponsoring us and supporting us, but we want more, and so we can get to that $20,000, and therefore we can. It's Christmas time, we can help somebody. Thanksgiving, we can help somebody. But most importantly, we can help a student get in school and stay in school.
Stay in school. Now, where do people pick up the turkeys? Like, how do you drop them off?
They don't have to worry about it. We go get them.
Okay.
We pick them up, we distribute them. As you said, every year it grows. As people hear that we have turkeys that distribute, people will contact us. Hey, can you bring turkeys to our organization? So we added the veterans' homes, some more veterans' homes. So there are people who are in need, and just the little gifts and tokens that we can give, particularly around the holidays, helps lift people's spirits. So the more that we can give to go out and help to give others, you know, that's what we want to do. So, yeah.
As a matter of fact, we give to the food bank right here in Bowie.
Okay.
Yes, we do. We give turkeys to the food bank here in Bowie.
And I want to ask you about just Prince George's County in particular. Do you have, are you working with anyone that does legislation, or anyone that's on the board of anything, or anyone that's like a liaison for the county?
Yes, we do. I will not say who they are right now because I haven't cleared it with them. But yes, we do have people that work with legislature.
Right.
I have met council people that want to help us.
Okay.
And so we're working towards those goals now. But as soon as they are materialized, I guess we'll be in a better position to say, yeah.
But what do you think is the greatest need for Prince George's County for your organization?
For our organization, our need would be funds. The more money that we can have, the more that we can give, back to the community. I think the next biggest need is continuing to get the word out through shows like yours to spread the word. Because I think particularly when people learn about the history of the Buffalo Soldiers, I think it should give a lot of hope to a lot of young people who are trying to find their way in life and trying to figure out what, and there's some that think things are just so dire and, I can't. Right. But when they learn about, and not just Buffalo Soldiers, but a lot that people had to overcome to get to where they are, there's tremendous stories in history with the Buffalo Soldiers that can encourage those folks. Second, just having our members come out in the community to talk with them, share with them, help uplift them is encouraging for them. So I would say donations for us is important, spreading the word through shows like yours are important, because once people hear about us, we hear about the people who are in need. They contact us, and we can't help everybody, but we want to help as many people as we can.
Okay. And we had kind of talked earlier before we started the show about popular culture with the Buffalo Soldiers, and we were talking about a Netflix.
Yes,
show.
yes. And there's a lot of history in the Buffalo Soldiers, and I don't know if I want to give a shout out to any particular production, but because some are better than others. Some depict the history well, some do not. So first thing I want to encourage people to do is to read as much as they can about the Buffalo Soldiers. And as you read more about it, when you see some of this dramatization, you'll see where it veers off and is really just for television and not always an accurate depiction. But I will first encourage people to actually read the history. I will say there have been some productions made that have some good points that will touch on a lot of the history, but then sometimes they kind of veer off and don't always give just due to where it should be.
Right. And what about mentoring with these young people? Do you all do that as well?
We do mentor, but it's when right now we haven't formalized a formal mentoring process because we're in the process of trying to get that developed. That's one of our strategic goals also. But like if a parent calls us, and we can go out and talk to their child, or help their student, or like I said, we have professions in our organization. If a child needs help with their homework or something like that, we would be willing to do that. We work, but we also try to make time to help other people. But we are in the process of establishing a formal mentoring process.
Okay.
Yeah, and a lot of it is networking. We have a lot of folks who are spread out throughout the county and the region. So when we learn of a need where we can help, we do. We have members who work in school systems. So when you hear about someone who's had an educational problem, they're our first go-to. Hey, what can we do to help this person? So we help however we can.
Yeah, and just as I say, we have professional. We have people with all types of degrees in our club, and attorneys, MBAs, PhDs. So we span the spectrum. So there are a lot of things that we can do to help and assist, and we want the community to know we are here for you. We can't help everybody, but we try to prioritize those things that we think are most needed in our community, and we go out and try to assist with that.
I mean, I'm so in awe of what you do and what it represents and the legacy that you have, that you are spreading for our young people. And it's a legacy that we have, as a nation. So it's very admirable about what you do. And I don't want to miss anything. Do we have any other special dates coming up?
Well, we have the Veterans Recognition Ceremony we support.
November 2nd, we will be down in Charles County, I believe, at Thornton's. And the director there has this big Veteran Day that we support.
Okay.
So we encourage people to come down and pay tribute and support, veterans. So that's the next biggest thing that we have coming up. And then we move right into our Thanksgiving, process. And then right out of Thanksgiving, we move right into Christmas. So we are busy this time of the year.
Yeah. Now, what is your Christmas initiative?
Well, Christmas we have the coat drive is what we have normally around the Christmas holiday. So we work with faith-based community, primarily in Washington D.C. right now. We help them. They gather coats for distribution. They're a central distribution point for a lot of homeless and needy people in the area. So we help them get set up, bring in the materials that are going to be distributed, help them distribute the materials. So they get a lot of free labor from us because we bring out all our folks, and it takes a lot of hands, and so we do a lot of that for them. So that's after the Veterans event, that's the next event.
Yeah.
But one thing I will say about the Veterans event, so if you're ever fortunate enough to go to a Veterans recognition ceremony, like we had the one at Thornton's, maybe it was last year or the year before, got to hear some very moving stories from military members to just come up to talk a little bit about something they want to in the service. And I mean, I heard some amazing stories from back to Vietnam to Afghanistan and people that serve. And I don't think a lot of people in the region really know about what our veterans have done because a lot of it they keep to themselves, but you really have to hear some of those stories.
Yeah.
So we look forward to doing the recognition ceremony in November.
And the other thing about that is not only do we hear the stories from the vets that have served, but how is when a veteran is deployed or when a soldier is deployed or a military person is deployed, what impact does that have on his family, her family?
Right.
His or her. So it's the entire family that we try to look at and recognize.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay?
And let people know how they can. We have about 40 seconds. How can people reach out to you?
Again, they can reach out to us with www.buffalosoldier-maryland.net.
Okay.
And please donate because we have a Christmas and we give away gift cards
Okay.
to needy families. So we need the donations for that too.
So it's all about service.
Yes.
It's all about giving. Thank you, Orlando. Thank you, Mason, for being on
welcome.
the award-winning Ed Brown Show. And we'll talk to you next time.